Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion.
We need to target where it's going to impact Americans the most.
Both Canada and Mexico have said that they will impose retaliatory tariffs on American goods.
When Donald Trump put tariffs on countries like Canada, Mexico, and China, he thought no one would retaliate. He knew even though China would hit back a little, Canada would go into submission. However, Canada has made it clear that bullying will no longer be allowed, and if Trump decides to punish Canada, there will be consequences. In a moment that shocked the world, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau came forward as a strong leader, revealing a 25% tax on $155 billion worth of American goods. Yet things don't stop here. Trump plans to put high tariffs on the EU as well, and Canada has thought of an effective and deadly strategy: to unite against the US and retaliate in a way Trump had never thought of. So how has Canada hit back, and what are the worst-case scenario plans to punish the United States? In this video, let's analyze and know about the whole story. The global trade conflict has reached a boiling point as Canada and the European Union gear up to retaliate against the United States following Donald Trump's aggressive tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, with the U.S. imposing a 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum. Canada and the EU have launched countermeasures that could shake key American industries, particularly the auto sector. That's because Trump has not only made Canada an enemy, but also the EU as well by suggesting high tariffs on the EU. Trump's decision to slap heavy tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum exports has triggered fierce backlash from Canadian leaders. With Canada supplying nearly 80% of the U.S.'s aluminum and more than 6 million tons of steel annually, this move is a direct economic attack on one of America's closest allies. The tariffs could raise production costs in critical U.S. industries, including automobiles, infrastructure, and defense, putting American jobs and businesses at risk. But Trump didn't stop at trade restrictions. He took things even further by making outrageous comments about Canada's sovereignty, suggesting that Canada would be better off as the 51st state of the United States. He claimed that Canada relies too much on American economic and military support and cannot sustain itself without U.S. backing. These statements outraged Canadians across the political spectrum, leading to an unprecedented pushback from Canadian officials and the public. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau swiftly condemned Trump's remarks and promised firm retaliation. He described the tariffs as entirely unjustified and emphasized that Canada would not be bullied into submission. Leading the charge against Trump's policies was NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, who proposed a 100% tariff on Tesla vehicles as a direct countermeasure. That's because Elon Musk is a key Trump ally and has been a vocal supporter of his economic policies. But Canada isn't just reacting. Rather, it's strategically positioning itself for long-term independence. Singh has proposed a massive incentive program that would offer Canadian consumers up to $10,000 in rebates for purchasing Canadian-made electric vehicles, a move aimed at boosting domestic manufacturing and reducing reliance on U.S. imports. This plan would undercut American EV manufacturers and strengthen Canada's automotive industry, turning this trade war into an opportunity for Canada to expand its economic power. Meanwhile, Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne highlighted the devastating impact that tariffs on steel and aluminum could have on the U.S. economy itself. He pointed out that these materials are essential for the American auto industry, defense manufacturing, and infrastructure projects, and any disruption in supply would harm American workers and businesses. Something that is being ignored is that Donald Trump's decision to impose a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum imports has set off alarm bells across the U.S. auto industry. While the administration argues that these tariffs are meant to protect American manufacturing, The reality is that they could cripple the very industries they are supposed to support. The automobile sector, which is deeply reliant on Canadian steel and aluminum to keep production lines running efficiently, will experience the harshest impacts. That's because the United States imports nearly 80% of its aluminum from Canada, a material crucial to modern vehicle manufacturing, especially in lightweight components for fuel efficiency and electric vehicle battery casings. Additionally, Canadian steel accounts for over 6 million tons of U.S. imports annually, feeding directly into the supply chains of Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, and Tesla. Without these imports, American car manufacturers face an immediate increase in production costs, longer supply chain disruptions, and potential delays in manufacturing. These tariffs do not just affect the cost of raw materials. They fundamentally alter the structure of the American auto industry by forcing automakers to choose between absorbing massive financial losses, raising car prices for consumers, or moving production abroad. The impact is staggering, as the price of new vehicles in the U.S. could increase by $1,000 to $2,000 per car, making American-made vehicles less competitive, both domestically and internationally. Furthermore, the U.S. auto industry could see a rise in manufacturing costs of $3 billion to $5 billion annually, putting extreme pressure on profit margins. Faced with rising costs, automakers may be forced to shut down plants, relocate manufacturing, or lay off thousands of workers. Major American automakers have already begun issuing warnings that Trump's tariffs could severely damage their ability to operate competitively. Ford and General Motors estimate that the new tariffs will increase their production costs by over $1 billion per year, forcing them to either pass costs to consumers or cut expenses elsewhere, likely by downsizing their workforce. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. Tesla, a company that relies heavily on aluminum for its electric vehicle production, could see a 10 to 15% spike in production costs, making its already expensive cars even less affordable to the average consumer. This is particularly dangerous in an era where Tesla is trying to maintain dominance in the global EV market against rising competition from China and Europe. Stellantis, which is the parent company of Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram, is in an especially vulnerable position. The company already operates under thin profit margins, and any additional increase in production costs could force it to cut back on new investments and expansion plans, impacting jobs and economic growth in the auto sector. Furthermore, a study by the Peterson Institute for International Economics found that Trump's previous steel tariffs in 2018 led to the loss of 75,000 U.S. manufacturing jobs, far exceeding the 33,000 steel industry jobs that were saved. The current round of tariffs threatens to repeat and worsen this economic disaster, placing a massive strain on the auto industry and related sectors. Now, if Trump's tariffs remain in place for an extended period, automakers may be forced to take drastic cost-cutting measures to remain profitable. One of the most immediate consequences could be shutting down plants in high-cost manufacturing states such as Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, states that are crucial to both the auto industry and Trump's own political base. The ripple effect will not stop at factory closures. The U.S. auto industry directly and indirectly employs over 9.7 million workers, including assembly line workers, engineers, suppliers, and dealerships. A slowdown in production will lead to mass layoffs, affecting not only manufacturing jobs but also logistics, sales, and supporting industries. Some automakers may take an even more radical step in the form of relocating production to Mexico or Canada, where tariffs do not apply. This could accelerate the very process of offshoring that Trump's policies are supposedly designed to prevent. However, things don't stop here. In addition to Trump's tariffs hurting American industries and raising prices for consumers, the retaliations of these tariffs are making things worse. And Trump's tariffs are not just angering Canada. They are provoking a coordinated response from the European Union as well. European leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, have already warned that the EU will not tolerate unfair U.S. trade practices and is preparing a firm counterattack. The EU has already outlined a strategic counteroffensive aimed at targeting American industries that have strong political influence. Some of the measures being discussed include tariffs on key American exports, such as bourbon whiskey, Harley-Davidson motorcycles, and Florida orange juice. These are not just random choices, but designed to hit industries located in politically important swing states, directly affecting Trump's voter base. Not only that, but the EU also plans to block U.S. firms from accessing the European public contracts market, cutting off billions of dollars in revenue for American companies that rely on European infrastructure projects. In addition to this, the EU is also thinking of tightening regulations on American tech giants, such as Google, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook, making it more difficult for them to operate in the EU. In the past, the EU's countermeasures against Trump's 2018 tariffs cost American businesses over $10 billion in lost exports. If similar measures are enacted this time around, the losses could be even greater, particularly if Canada and the EU work together to isolate the U.S. from global trade opportunities. Since the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement was implemented in 2017, trade between Canada and the EU has increased by 65%, strengthening their economic ties. If this trend continues, American businesses could find themselves increasingly excluded from key international trade opportunities, leading to billions in lost revenue. Beyond immediate retaliation, Canada is actively working to reduce its economic dependence on the U.S. Trudeau's government is strengthening trade relationships with Asia and diversifying exports to protect Canada from future U.S. trade instability. In addition to trade, Canada is ramping up its military and national security efforts. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has proposed expanding Canada's Arctic military presence, increasing the Inuit Ranger Force, and investing in new icebreaker ships. His goal is to strengthen Canada's sovereignty and reduce its reliance on U.S. military protection. You see, Trump's aggressive trade policies have put the U.S. on a collision course with its closest allies. Canada, once one of America's strongest economic and military partners, is now actively seeking ways to reduce its reliance on the U.S. If Trump continues to escalate the trade war, he risks pushing Canada and Europe into stronger alliances that exclude American influence. With Canada forging deeper economic ties with the EU and Asia, the U.S. could lose access to key markets and critical resources, further weakening its global economic standing. At the same time, the U.S. auto industry faces significant risks, as increased production costs, retaliatory tariffs, and disrupted supply chains threaten American jobs and businesses. If Canada and the EU follow through with their countermeasures, the U.S. economy could face massive financial losses, forcing Washington to reconsider its trade policies. Now, Canada and the European Union are making it clear that they will not be intimidated by U.S. tariffs. As both regions strengthen their trade agreements and explore new economic partnerships, the U.S. risks being left behind in the shifting global economy. Trump's tariff war may have been designed to protect American industries, but in reality, it could cripple the very sectors he claims to defend. Now, it's to be seen what Canada and the EU collectively do to send a clear message to the U.S. that they won't submit and would retaliate. What do you think? Should Canada and the EU put tariffs in response to Trump using tariffs as a weapon? Isn't it true that Trump's reciprocal tariffs take this trade war to a level never seen before? In the comment section right below, Share your thoughts on whether a robust response can be sent if all countries unite against the U.S. to punish it. Or will it backfire because that's precisely what Trump wants? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs. Things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.